I'm awesome! And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And this week I am reviewing a classic Christmas movie that was not appreciated when it first came out. I appreciated it when it first came out. Now it seems everybody's starting to jump on the bandwagon. This movie was released in 1996, and it was directed by Brian Levant, and written by Randy Cornfield, produced by Chris Columbus, Michael Barnathan, and Mark Radcliffe, made by 1492 Pictures and Fox Family Films, and distributed by 20th Century Fox. Ladies and gentlemen, Jingle All The Way. The movie opens with a show called Turbo Man, which is clearly inspired by the Power Rangers. Which makes sense, because keep in mind, this came out in 96, the Power Rangers debuted in America in 93, and they were still the biggest craze going on at the time. So it was only natural that some movie was going to put some kind of Power Ranger knockoff in there. The kid watching the show is Jamie, played by Jake Lloyd, who later played Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace, who later quit acting altogether because of how bullied he was for playing Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace. Then we go to Jamie's father, Howard, a salesman who is still at work even though he should have left for his son's karate class by now.
But don't you forget, you're my number one customer. You're my number one customer.
Yeah, you should never believe them when they say that, because he says it to everyone, including his wife.
You're my number one customer. Liz! Look, I didn't mean that.
Thing is, I've done that. I work retail, and there have been times that it's just habit. Talking to my wife, about to tell her goodbye, and I'm like, thanks for shopping with us. His wife, Liz, is played by Rita Wilson. In an attempt to make it to his son's karate class on time, Howard hits traffic and decides to avoid the traffic by driving on the shoulder of the freeway, which is illegal, and I hate people who do that. Even worse is when you encounter those drivers, when you start seeing the cones that are letting you know, by the way, this lane is closing, so you get into the other lane in plenty of time, but they decide they're going to zoom to the front and get in front of everybody they can. I never let you guys in, and I never will. I'll die first! But as he's driving, a cop who is in traffic saw him and decided to pull him over and give him a ticket. Which is how you know this is all fantasy, because that never seems to happen. There is never a cop around when somebody's doing that crap. But Howard's trying to rush the cop through so he can get his ticket and just get to his son's karate class, but that backfires. It angers the cop, who decides now he's going to give him a field sobriety test. Tells him he needs to recite the alphabet.
A, B, C...
backwards.
You know, I've always felt that was kind of unfair of a field sobriety test to make you do the alphabet backwards, because I'm sober and I can't do that. Of course, he misses the karate class where his son gets his purple belt. Luckily for him, his neighbor Ted was there with his son and filmed the whole thing and tells him he can watch it. His neighbor also took the liberty of putting up Howard's Christmas lights for him.
Why not spread a little Christmas cheer around the neighborhood?
Ted is played by the late, ever-so-great Phil Hartman. Rest in peace.
What would I do without you?
Well, it was rough after Phil Hartman died, especially considering 5 months earlier Chris Farley died. It was a bad year for comedy. Howard goes inside to talk to his son Jamie, who is angry and upset and refuses to talk to his father, even slams the door in his face. Which, come on, Jamie. You think you're the only person whose father didn't show up to their stuff? I was in drama class in high school, very into it. My dad came to one play, and only a couple of improv nights. And my dad didn't have a job! To make him feel better and cheer him up, Howard tells Jamie whatever it is that he wants for Christmas, he promises he will get it on Christmas. Which kind of should have been a given.
I want the Turbo Man action figure with the arms and legs that move.
Oh, I remember being a kid and getting that excited over a toy. Now I get that excited over other things. I love you so much.
Thanks, Dad. I love you.
I love that room. I mean, you got Captain America painted on the wall, you got the Hulk mask on the wall, you got the superhero sheets, you got the action figures in the window, you got that stack of Turbo Man comics. Jamie's a nerd! Apparently, though, Howard had forgotten that he was supposed to pick up a Turbo Man weeks ago.
Because at this point, they'd probably be impossible to find.
And now he's going to go be one of those annoying customers that literally come in and want the hottest Christmas toy that year the day before Christmas, whining and moaning because how could you not have any? We did! So the next morning, it's Christmas Eve. Howard has to leave.
I have to pick up the DOLL.
Okay, that kid looks like he's in at least 3rd or 4th grade. He should be able to spell doll by now. And it's action figure. Outside, Ted is walking a reindeer he rented for the Christmas season. Which is amazing. I wasn't aware that you could rent reindeer. Can you? 1 second. You can! But what's the point? My wife would never let me. Never get to have any fun. Howard tells Ted he's off to get a Turbo Man.
I got a Turbo Man for Johnny months ago. It's nestled safely under our tree.
I love Phil Hartman, but I hate Ted. I hate people like Ted. Those people like, oh, I buy all my Christmas presents in July. Well, freaking good for you. That's not even a good idea. You realize your kids change the stuff they're into literally month to month sometimes. Howard goes to the nearest toy store before it opens and waits in line for it to open, and in line he encounters Myron, who is played by Sinbad, one of my favorite comedians of all time. Myron is a mailman who is very frustrated with the holiday season, as he's also there to get a Turbo Man for his son. Now the toy store opens.
The Turbo Man dolls! They're all gone!
No, there's gotta be another one here somewhere.
I remember when this movie first came out, there were so many Turbo Man at the frickin' store. And they stayed there. They hardly sold a single Turbo Man because this movie didn't do that well. Now, if you can find one of those original Turbo Men that they released around the time of this movie, it's a collector's item. And by the way, it's an action figure.
Do you have any more in the back?
That's the reaction we want to give people when they ask us that question. But we can't. We have to just do the little dance of, no, we don't have any more, and we won't get any more before Christmas, and okay, I'll go call some other stores and waste my time to see if they have one, even though I know they don't. Yep, looks like you're SOL. Howard gets angry. He's also played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which means he's big.
The last one just left. Some lady had it on layaway.
Yeah, we wouldn't tell you that. We would just try to calm you down and apologize for the fact that you waited till the last minute. Myron and Howard fight to get out of the store first to find this lady who has the last Turbo Man toy. Howard sees a lady in a fur coat who has a Turbo Man toy peeking out of the bag and offers her triple what she paid for it.
Ah, sure, what the heck. For that kind of profit, knock yourself out.
The lady is played by Yardley Smith. Because hey, they had Troy McClure in this movie, why not have Lisa Simpson too? But there's a problem.
Booster.
In this movie, at every store, their shelves are overloaded with the sidekick of Turbo Man, Booster, and his arch nemesis, Dementor. They aren't selling any of those. Which is not really how it goes. Yes, there might be a few Boosters and Dementors left, but they'd be selling pretty fast too, because as much as kids want the hero, he needs somebody to fight. So Howard throws Booster away. Which is kind of stupid. You paid triple for it, just give it to Jamie anyway. He's a nerd. I'm sure he wants the whole set. Trust me. But then he does see the lady in her car who had the last Turbo Man and chases after it, but she drives away. Which, what does it matter? What makes you think she would have sold it to you? She obviously has a kid too. My only real question is, like, looking at that lady, she's obviously very well to do. Why did she need to put it on layaway? Howard goes all over, calls all over, and can't find a Turbo Man anywhere. And eventually he does bump into Myron again, and as they're talking...
Good news! We got a late delivery of Turbo Man at Toy Works! Let's go!
Why would you announce that? Wouldn't you want as few people to know as possible? But as Howard is backing out, he hits a police motorcycle. Guess whose motorcycle?
License and registration, please.
Yeah, of course. After he gets his ticket, he goes to the toy store that is located inside the Mall of America, which is actually where a lot of this movie was shot, inside the Mall of America, which also explains where this movie is set, in Minnesota. At the toy store, they do announce that yes, they have a small shipment of Turbo Man, and what they're going to be doing is giving everybody a numbered rubber ball, which will be then drawn like a lottery, and if their number is called, they will be allowed to buy a Turbo Man at double the price. I've heard stories where they've done stuff like this. Everyone rushes the employees to the point that they just throw the balls up into the air. And everybody rushes to get a number of balls so they can have a small chance at buying a Turbo Man. Like I said, this is something that I've heard retailers have done before and patrons have done before. And it's because of things like this that I have very little faith in humanity. Amidst the fighting... I got it! Ah! Idiots. Myron gets tackled by the others, the ball bounces, and a little girl picks it up. So now Howard chases her into the play area that she went to. I missed the ball pit. But the little girl will not give him the rubber ball.
I got it. Ow!
Yeah, that's probably what would happen. But then again, this is very true. A lot of kids would have a lot more fun with that little rubber ball than a Turbo Man action figure. Howard encounters a mall Santa played by Jim Belushi, who tells him that he has a Turbo Man action figure.
You got the cash, we got the dough.
Two things wrong with this. Number one, at the Mall of America, they don't hire Santas that are just guys with a freaking fake beard on. They hire those guys who are like a part of that society of Santas. That look like real Santas, act like real Santas, blow their beards out, dye them white. The kind of thing you saw in the documentary I Am Santa. Number two, it's an action figure! Santa takes Howard to a secret location that is guarded with a secret password.
Jingle bells, Batman smells.
I always hated that rhyme. I'm sure Batman does smell, and I'm sure you would too, from sweating inside a rubber suit while fighting crime! Santa tells him that's going to be $300.
Dollars?
No! Chocolate kisses! Yes, dollars!
My wife would take the chocolate. But there is a problem.
Es el tiempo del hombre de turbo!
It's no bueno. Also...
Well, of course there's...
Now he and Jim Belushi got some red heat. They tussle a little bit until the other Santas get involved. This part of the movie was edited out of the UK release because of the nunchucks. Many movies have had nunchucks edited out of them for the UK. What is your issue with nunchucks? But eventually, Howard has to deal with a big problem.
I'm gonna deck your halls, bub.
Paul White, also known as the Big Show, or Captain Insano. At this point in time, he was in WCW as the Giant. But I will say this, if I had to fight him, I'd probably cry. Giant Santa has a mini Santa. That was Vern Troyer, before he played Mini-Me. Rest in peace. The fight is broken up when the police raid the place, because I'm sure the police would put that kind of an operation together over bootleg toys. But hey, the fight had to get broken up somehow. Howard gets away by flashing a toy badge that they believe, telling him that he was an undercover officer working on this case for 3 years.
Sure.
Exactly. Howard runs out of gas and pushes his car to a diner so he can use the payphone to call AAA. This was in '96, when we didn't all have cell phones. He also calls home to talk to his wife Liz, but Jamie answers and starts going on and on about Turbo Man.
I headed up to here with this Turbo Man.
I'll bet you have.
You never do anything you say you're gonna do, ever!
You know, no matter how mad I was, if I talked to my dad that way, it wouldn't have ended well. And when you know it, in the diner, he sees Myron.
Any luck in finding that doll?
Action figure! Myron talks about how he had the same experience as a kid. There was one toy that he never got.
Johnny 7 Ome gun. Remember those, don't you?
That's a real toy. Like I've mentioned in other videos though, mine was a Teddy Ruxpin. But you know what? It's okay. All of us have a story of that one toy that we really wanted and didn't get. Whatever. You get over it. You move on with life.
Here's to you, Dad.
Yeah, Dad! I'd be rich and successful if I had that Teddy Ruxpin. Then they hear on the radio that they can win a Turbo Man if they are the first one to call in and name all of Santa's reindeer.
I got the answer. No, you don't.
They're back to being enemies. They break the phone, and to get them to stop fighting, the diner owner tells them that the radio station is just down the street. So they run over.
Randy, Jermaine, Tito.
Nope, not even close.
Apparently someone doesn't know the difference between Santa's reindeer and the Jackson 5. Myron gets there after Howard, who has already won, but he has something that he thinks will sway the decision.
This, Master Trackstar, is a homemade explosive device.
Yeah, okay.
Hundreds of these things come to the mail every day. I just kept one in case I ever needed it.
Too bad they never get sent through UPS. Then again, they might. We would just never know because they only actually deliver packages like 40% of the time. But while having a bit of a breakdown, Myron throws the package. It's not a bomb. But now that things have cooled down, the DJ finally gets a chance to explain that they don't actually have a Turbo Man.
What we have here is a gift certificate.
Well, don't you feel sheepish? Turns out in the midst of all this, the DJ did call the police. So Myron grabs another package and does the same thing, claiming that it's a bomb, sets it down so that he and Howard can get out of there. Once they are out of there, the cop from earlier grabs the package saying, "It's just a package, calm down."
This is nothing but a harmless Christmas package.
Turns out that gift was the bomb.
That was really a bomb? Just a sick world we're living in. Sick people.
So Howard has had enough, he calls it a day and goes home. When he gets home though, he sees Ted in his house putting the star on his tree. Especially after the day he's had, he's so enraged. And it's then he remembers that Ted got his son a Turbo Man. So he breaks in to take Johnny, Ted's son's Turbo Man.
I can do this.
Well, at least you finally came to your senses. If you really want to get back at Ted, do something horrible, like give him a fruitcake.
Fruitcake. I love fruitcake. Num 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 num.
Yeah, well, a lot of people hate it. But just as he's had a change of heart, the reindeer sees him and starts chasing him. Chases him all over the house, because apparently this is a guard reindeer. And in the midst of all this chaos, he knocks one of Ted's wise men into the fireplace. First of all, why did you leave your house with a fire going? That's freaking stupid. And second, shouldn't the wise men be outside in some kind of a nativity or something? Howard is caught red-handed. Liz is angry and has had enough of his neglect to both her and his son. So she decides she's going to go to the Christmas parade with Ted.
You can't bench press your way out of this one.
Yeah, but he could easily bench press you, so I would just shut up. The reindeer is back. First a camel, now a reindeer. Next time, a moose. At the parade, Johnny and Jamie get out of the van to go save a spot while the adults go park it. This is in '96 when you could do stuff like that. And it's at this moment that Ted decides to tell Liz his feelings, tell Liz that she should leave Howard and be with him, and he even starts to get a little bit handsy.
Enough talking.
So she hits him with that disgusting bubblegum milk. Eggnog is gross. As far as Howard goes, he's at the parade and he's been spotted by that same cop who is apparently everywhere. So to get away, Howard ducks into a studio. Once he gets inside, though, they start dressing him in a suit because they think that he's the replacement they've been waiting for. The replacement they've been waiting for the main attraction of the parade. What's the main attraction?
Wave, you idiot! Wave!
Turbo Man! Inside the booster costume is Curtis Armstrong. Guess you could say inside that costume they've got a booger. And Turbo Man is supposed to pick out one lucky kid to come get a prize limited edition Turbo Man toy. And then his nemesis Dementor is supposed to come out and fight over it. But now Turbo Man picks a kid.
Jamie!
That's nepotism. But now, Dementor.
All right, kid, give me the dial and nobody gets hurt.
Action figure! But Jamie's not scared. He's got a purple belt. Myron chases Jamie up a building, while Howard is fighting Dementor's henchmen. Because they are all actors, they all think this is part of the show. Everybody watching thinks this is all part of the show, even though it's not. But then, Jamie and Myron are in a bit of trouble. Like seriously, at this point, Myron, just get your kid something else for Christmas. But he doesn't, he takes the action figure. Good thing that present was there. By the way, Howard, your kid is still hanging. Till he falls. Gotcha! But Jamie is disappointed that his dad couldn't be there to see all this. But Turbo Man assures him his father loves him very much.
Who would know better than me?
Dad? Howard?
And of course, the cops have arrested Myron, and they give Jamie back his action figure.
Merry Christmas.
Wow.
But you wanted that toy so much!
What do I need the doll for? I got the real Turbo Man at home.
Action figure! So now everything is neatly wrapped up. They're gonna have a nice, wonderful Christmas.
What did you get me?
You are so dead! So there you have it, that's the Christmas classic. At least now it's a classic. Jingle All The Way. This movie did make a profit, as it had a $75 million budget, and did $129.8 million in the box office. However, it received very poor reviews. A lot of the critics bashed it, a lot of the people that saw it didn't really like it at the time, but kind of in the spirit of The Last Action Hero, years and years later, it's finally gaining its audience and getting the respect it deserves. I loved this movie the moment it came out. I thought it was a great holiday classic. I didn't understand what everybody was complaining about. I mean, seriously, you had Sinbad, you had Phil Hartman, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Power Ranger knockoffs. What more could you want? Sadly, this was the last collaboration between Phil Hartman and Sinbad, who had been in Coneheads together as well as House Guests. Both movies that I very much enjoyed. This was also the last feature film that would be released during Phil Hartman's lifetime. There was another movie or two that came out after he died, but he wasn't alive when they came out. Funny enough, they originally wanted Joe Pesci to play Myron, but then deemed that he was too short to stand next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Which doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger had done the movies Twins and Junior with Danny DeVito, who's actually a little bit shorter than Pesci. Daniel Stern was also considered for the role of Myron, but he turned it down because, in his opinion, it was too similar to the character Marv he had played in Home Alone. But it worked out as they got Sinbad, who, like I said, is one of my favorite comedians ever. And he was a joy apparently to have on set. He ad-libbed a lot of his dialogue. And in the movie, a lot of the reactions that Arnold Schwarzenegger had to his character were ad-libbed by him reacting to his ad-libbing. This movie, though, even had a big premiere, being premiered at the Mall of America, where they shot a lot of this movie. But funny enough, not only did they have other actors in mind for the role of Myron, but they also had other actors in mind for the role of Howard. For example, they wanted Tim Allen to play Howard, or Myron. He ended up doing the Santa Claus instead. But other actors they had in mind to play Howard, they wanted Robin Williams, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, and even Steve Martin. They were all considered for the role of Howard. What made them give the part to Arnold Schwarzenegger was that Arnold Schwarzenegger had been working heavily to be in the 20th Century Fox remake of Planet of the Apes. However, it fell through. It didn't end up happening until a few years later, and instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they had Mark Wahlberg. But hey, at least you were in this movie that, yes, at the time it came out, got bad reviews, bad press, most people didn't like it, but has later gained a following. We still think that remake to Planet of the Apes sucked. Ultimately, this movie, in my opinion, is not only very funny and very heartwarming and uplifting, but I like that it kind of addresses the craze that happens around Christmas when people are trying to get that hot button Christmas toy at the last minute, going crazy over it, and how ridiculous they get over it. Do they get to the point of like what Howard had went through in this movie? Not necessarily, but people have gotten hurt, injured, stores have gotten looted over a frickin' toys. And I like that this movie kind of like threw that in their face. Like, you guys are ridiculous, knock it off, they're just toys. So on that note, this is one of those movies that I seek out and watch every year around Christmas. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I recommend you guys check it out. Jingle All The Way, in my opinion, is a good, classic Christmas movie. So there you have it, that's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Jingle All The Way. Merry Christmas, guys.